Hello there. Are you still conscious? Okay, good. Yeah, no, I know that that track can be a little much on the first time hearing it. Well, I'd like to welcome you to VG Emporium, Video Game Music and More podcast. Today we're going to be doing more of a more subject, 3 times more. For today, I'll be sharing with you tracks from the series of albums that have become called the Soundshock FM Funk Trilogy, released by chiptunes. So starts with FM Funk Madness, then the second one is FM Funk Terror, and finally, but not least, is FM Funk Nirvana. And after hearing all the rest of these tracks that I have to share with you today, I'm pretty sure you'll be there. And so, as the name would suggest, these 3 albums are a collection of just original FM tunes created by, FM synthesis enthusiasts and masters. The Madness was released in 2011, Terror was in 2012, and then Nirvana came out 5 years later in 2017. And this whole project was largely masterminded by a fella by the name Zinger, and he is part of a group of demo sceners of the new millennium is way to look at it. He had started a forum called Soundshock, which was a forum dedicated to FM synthesis and FM music, and so just people that were just really into it were there, just sharing music they've made, talking about all the finer details and everything about it, like all the different ways you can actually make it, either hardware or software. And then just one day he was approached by chiptune to create an album, so he was working on that, and then that eventually evolved into this project Soundshock, which he asked all these people that were part of the forum to just create and set music for this album. And yeah, the end result is just sheer awesome. And there's actually a couple articles on the chiptunes website that goes into much more detail about this. It's a 2-parter about the starting of it, the people that are involved with it and everything, and explains it way better than I could ever hope to do so without just reading it straight to you, and that would just be silly. And yeah, no, this FM Funk Madness, when I first heard it back in 2011, was kind of just one of the catalysts that really awoke my interest in FM synthesis and FM chiptunes, really, because before I liked video game music and all, and didn't really care for FM stuff, and then it was starting to grow on me, and then heard this, heard the first Soundshock album, and it was just mind-opening, mind-blowing, and made me kind of set me down the path of making my own FM chimp tunes. But that is a story for another episode that is coming along down the pipeline. But enough spiel. Let's tell you about this track here and the composer of this track, because it's quite a doozy. This was A Journey in Modulating Time, composed by DJ.TooBig/MaliceX, using the combination of plugins, the FM7, VOPM, and I believe Helix, which is an audio program, I want to say. I'm not too sure, but this one was from Soundshock 2, FM Funk Terror. And gosh darn, this one is just a real, just mind melter, and was really the only way I could just imagine starting this episode out with, just because it's just so big and just all over the place, and just all these crazy tones and sounds that he has going on, yeah, so I'm going to tell you about DJ.TooBig/MaliceX. This guy is a musical madman, whiz, genius, FM programmer extraordinaire. I mean, I've heard, after hearing this, I saw some more of his stuff out, found some of, his original, Mega Drive tunes that I believe he actually, created, via MML, I want to say, maybe, which is a music macro language, just music programming. And, yeah, it's all just his stuff is just all really good. And most recently, I think he's mostly just been doing still doing original stuff, a lot of keyboard stuff. He's a really good keyboardist. Most recently, on SoundCloud, he had posted a remix of Todd Fiend, which it's kind of like a synth rock remix, and it's so good. I mean, I just love all the music that he's put out. And this track, I don't know, I don't know if I can say enough about this track, or if I'll say too much. It's just, just one of those kind of mind-altering experiences when I first heard it. Just like hearing like, this is possible with this stuff. Like, you can actually make these kind of sounds with this. Is what is happening. Everything all over the place in so many different styles. Womby. I don't know what to do with myself. I feel like I can't really say much more about him, that would do him justice. Like, that's gonna go the same for most of these guys that are on this album and the songs I'm gonna share with you. But just go check. I'm gonna link his SoundCloud, and just go check out his music and let it, listen to it and let it speak for itself. It's all just really good, awesome stuff. So yeah, we're gonna move on to our next track, and I am gonna be playing you the rest of these tracks in order of albums. So, it's not going to be all jumbled all over the place type thing. But, yeah, I believe the next track I'm going to be playing for you is Fashion Queen by Cooler from Soundshock FM Funk Madness. That was Fashion Queen by Cooler using the DX7 from the Soundshock FM Funk Madness. And for the first half of the track, I can say with mostly confidently that the percussion samples are from Knuckles Chaotix on the 32X, because it's a very distinctive sound, and those are some pretty nice samples in that game. If you haven't listened to that soundtrack, go do so. Some good funky New Jack swingy stuff there. But we're not talking about that. We're here to talk about Cooler. And what can I tell you about him, you ask? Well, that he is a multi-chiptunist of the supreme degree. I think I found him originally on 8-Bit Collective, which was if you're not familiar with that, it was a collective of just chiptunists that. I think it started sometime in the 2000, mid 2000, mid aughts or so, maybe even earlier, and it was just mostly a lot of Famicom, Fami Tracker tunes, C64, I think Pokey stuff, like Atari, even just demo chip tune stuff, and and it unfortunately closed down in 2011. But enough of that. Yeah, Cooler, like his music is just really awesome. You know, just like, and he's like I said, a multi-chip tunist. Like he doesn't focus on just one, style of chip or synth. He's just all over the place, and it all culminated in his 2018 album, Sound Chip Salad, in which he, every track in there is like representing a different version, like a different sound chip, plus some remixes from other artists on there, and he used a combination of trackers and hardware synths and everything, and a lot of these could actually be played on real hardware. I would highly encourage you to go listen to it. I'm gonna link his Bandcamp on the in the show notes, and you can also find him on social medias as Cooler Research Incorporated. So now we're gonna move on to our next track. It is 5978 by Jake Kaufman, aka Vert, from Soundshock FM Funk Madness. and welcome back. That was 5978 by Jake Kaufman, aka Vert, from FM Funk Madness. And this was made using the VOPM plugin, which is a software like VST plugin that emulates the YM2151 sound chip. And all I can say is, what more can you expect from good old Vert? And if you're a fan of VGM but you're not familiar with his music, what have you been at? What have you been doing? Stop what you're doing. Go and check out his stuff. I got a whole section of it here at VG Emporium, and I'll be pulling from it more in the future so that you all can enjoy that. Oh yeah. If you want stuff to go check out, check out, his early Game Boy stuff, like, his big first hit, Shantae. Or if you want some, like, good old NES tunes, he's did a whole series called FX 1 through 4. The first 3 were done using Scream Tracker 3, and then the 4th one was actually made using Family Tracker. If you like some DS, go check out Contra 4. He did, music in that, originals and arrangements. And then if you want more arrangements, go check out, DuckTales Remastered. Or if you want, like, some really good, awesome original NES stuff, one thing that he's probably most well known for recently is Shovel Knight. He used the VRC6 sound chip expansion on Family Tracker for that one. But yeah, no, this guy has just a massive back catalog of stuff he's made. He's just like, just making stuff, originals, remixes, arrangements, just, non-video game related, video game related, everything that you can imagine. He's just a non-stop music machine, man. And I personally discovered him back in 2006 with the FX2 album, which are like crazy arrangements, almost to the point of being originals based off of like old Konami NES games. So like, TMNT 1 and 3, Contra, Gradius to name some. I definitely suggest you go check it out. It's some good time. And this track is a really funky good time, and I wish I could kind of get a little bit more into it, but I've got a lot more tracks I want to show you. So now we're going to shuffle on to our next track, which is actually made by the man who instigated all this madness, Zinger, along with his buddy Bacter. It's called Sky Stroll from Soundshock FM Funk Madness. That was Sky Stroll by the duo of Zinger and Bacter from Soundshock FM Funk Madness, made using the FM7, a software synth by Native Instruments. And if there's one thing I can say about this track is that I love that plunky, slappy FM bass. And then you throw that Neo Jack swank on top of that, and ooh, yeah, that's some good ear vittles. And about Zinger and Bacter, I don't really know much about, other than the fact that, I've been listening to their music collectively for about the last 10 years or so. I discovered them back in 2010 through this album called Backtracker I found through Free Music Archive, and it was just all this collection of newer demo scene style tunes that came with an actual executable that had a little graphical that you could listen to the music in. And so through the next year, I tried finding more of their music, and that's how I came upon the Soundshock FM forums. And at the same time, I also discovered Ubiquitune. And so then all of a sudden, just one day, there it is, Soundshock FM Funk Madness. And I was just immediately caught and just enamored by it. And now I'm going to read you a little excerpt from that article that's about this project. And here's from Zinger. C-Jeff approached me back in 2010, I think, about making a solo album for Ubiquitune. I was very happy about that, but I remember telling him that there was something else that I'd like to do even more. And that's when I started working on the Soundshock album project. And he goes on to talk about how he gained a fascination of FM music through playing Mega Drive games like Golden Axe and such, and then eventually led him to becoming involved with the demo scene, and eventually the Soundshock forums, which a lot of the artists that are on these albums collectively were involved with that forum, posting their music there. And he also had a fascination with old Japanese computers like the Sharp X68000, the NEC PCs, and this led him to getting to actually talk to some Japanese composers for those systems, such as Ryo Takami and Keishi Onao, who actually has made the track that I'm going to be playing for you next here, which is called There Is No Answer by Keishi Onao from Soundshock 2 FM Funk Terror. Well, howdy, hi there. That action-packed track was There Is No Answer by Keishi Onao from Soundshock 2 FM Funk Terror, made using once again, the VOPM plugin. And I tell you what, this fella here knows how to make that YM2151 belt it out, which is no wonder because Keishi Onao has composed some of the best music on the Sharp X68000, which uses this sound chip. Just to name off a few of his standouts, Neural Gear, Mad Stalker, Asuka 120% Burning Fest. He's also contributed arrangements and, just like some compositions for other games here and there, and he's still making music. He has a SoundCloud, and he's just posting, music that he's still working on, a lot with like these FM synths, sometimes just, also using like the, old computers. So yeah, some really good stuff. And this track carries over a lot of that, just frenetic action energy from those, his game compositions. Though the one thing he didn't do in this that he usually does, and usually did in his a lot of the Sharp X68K tracks, is he would create a chorus bass effect. So he would have the bass playing in one channel, and then in a second channel he would have that same bass melody going, but slightly offset and maybe just a little volume down to kind of give it that really nice full chorus effect. And so to continue on from where I left off before I play this track for you was that where Zinger was fascinated by the Japanese PC culture that was going on over there. So all the composers making that really awesome awesome FM music, and then there's the doujin scene where people were making their own music with it and stuff. Keishi was fascinated with the Western demo scene, computer scene that was going on in Europe and all over that. So this was just kind of those two things. Finally, Zinger just wanting to combine them, bring in Japanese music sensibilities with the Western demo scene style and stuff, and you get this whole series of albums. And before we move on, let's hear our boy make this thing sing. So good. And we're going to be keeping things at the same yet funkier level here with this next track, Where's My Z-Pack by Schnabababala from Soundshock 2 FM Funk Terror. that was Where's My Z-Pack by Schnubbabula from Soundshock 2 FM Funk Terror. And all the sounds are made using Octopus, which, from what I'm able to read of it, is a beast of a FM soft synth. And then where does one start with Schnubbabula? Hoi! This guy is insanely prolific. And he just seems to have this ability to just combine jazz, classical, and chiptune just seamlessly together. It's crazy. And to watch him play keys is just mind-blowing. I mean, just look him up. It's SHNABUBULA on YouTube, and yeah, it's just his fingers are just flying just all over the place, up and down the keys, just fluttering all around, and it's mesmerizing to watch. And he just has this amazing ability to also just like capture this kind of like improvisational jazz like sound with like his chip tunes and everything, as you could probably tell with this track. And it's like, it's all programmed, but it still just has like this really just kind of like, feeling of, live, just there's life to it, and it's just kind of on the fly, on the spot type sound. I don't know. It's a level that I could never dream to attain. And if I remember, I think I found him originally back in like 2006, 2007 with his remix of the in-game theme from Solstice on OC Remix, and I was hooked then. And then it was a few years later I actually discovered his chiptune music, and I thought I was hooked then, and then it's just dragged me into the deep, and also kind of really helped set me on my like journey into like actually discovering original chiptune music as well. And to name off some albums he's done in the past, see, in 2008 he did Controller 1, see, 2011 Game Genie, 2012 NES Jams, where he made like original NES tunes in Family Tracker and played over them with like actual piano. Let's see, SNESology in 2013. From 2017 to 2018 he did a whole like piano storybook albums. And then most recently in 2019 he did Super Rite of Spring, which is an album covering or loosely covering the entire orchestral piece of Rite of Spring by Stravinsky, with each part of this piece done in the style of a SNES tune. So like, for example, Link to the Past, Mega Man X, Metroid, Star Fox, Chrono Trigger, Earthbound. Kind of feeling bad this one slipped by my radar, but I'm going to listen to this shortly after I'm done with this episode. And I would suggest you go do the same, because it's probably going to be really good. And now it's time for a not only a stylistic, but also tonal shift here on our next track, which is Escape from the Lab by Chime Ratio from Soundshock 3 FM Funk Nirvana. You just heard Escape from the Lab by Chime Ratio from Soundshock 3 FM Funk Nirvana, made using a combination of the DX10 software synth and OPL3. And you probably tell that this one sounds a little different from the others, and that's because, whereas the rest of the tracks that I played so far have had, 4-op, 6-op, or gasp, 8-op. This, the DX10 and the OPL3 both use 2-op FM, but it is by no means lesser for it. They're still able to get like these really complex and just like, crazy sounding tones out of it, and that's due to the, as I explained in my grab bag episode, just the fact that like these particular 2-op chips are able to modulate different waveforms than just the sine waves. And now I know this series of albums are called FM Funk, but there are some tracks that are a little bit more experimental spread throughout them, and Chime Ratio does not disappoint on this front. They're actually one of my more recent discoveries in like these last few years, and mostly follow them on SoundCloud, and their music is just all like just like this, just kind of all over the place, just like discordant, really complex melodies going on. Like, if you could call them melodies, I don't know, just almost sounds like the random, but there's like controlled chaos going on here. And I primarily know them from the series of collective albums released called Staff Circ, as well as Signcraft, which I've participated in a couple of those, and every one of their tracks they've done for those is just so awesome. Like a lot of like Family Tracker tunes that are just like really just like what is it, microtonal, I think. It's like that group of people, the Signcrafters, are just like really into microtonal classical style music, using making with chiptunes or digital fusion style. And they're just doing some wild and crazy stuff. So now moving right along, getting our last two here. So the next track I got for you is The Lucastrine Beat Machine by Simon Stolenhug from Soundshock 3 FM Funk Nirvana. Hope you're not getting whiplash there. That was Lucas Stream Beat Machine by Simon Stollenhag from Soundshock 3 FM Funk Nirvana, made using Native Instruments FM7. I don't know what it is about this one, but it just always lifts the spirit, gets your mood up, and gets those toes a-tapping. And that is this guy's style, just like saturating your auditory senses with this combination of FM lead and, I don't know, kind of like guitar, just like that really nice, like clean, squealy guitar going on in there. A bit about Simon here in that article I've been mentioning. He has a little blurb. He says that back in 2011, he was working as a game designer at a small company, and on his spare time, he would create FM chiptunes, and he would share his music on the Soundshock forum. And then when the Zinger was coming up with the idea for this album, he reached out to Simon and said, "Hey, I want to have you on this thing." And so he was like, "Oh, whoa!" And at the same time, he had a coworker that also was making just this really awesome music, and so he tagged him and said, "You got to get involved with this too." And that buddy was went by the name Mattis, or on the albums his name is Bomb Boy, and he's also another really just awesome FM musician guy. And so as of right now, you can find Simon's stuff on SoundCloud, but he goes under the name now Satuna Sound Team. That's Satuna. And it's just non-stop bombastic FM madness over there, with just those FM leads being backed by that nice clean guitar. With that, we're going to be moving on to the last track of this episode. It is Modulation to Move the Mind by Naruto, also featuring Aya Futatsuki and Bo Kichi.
空気を切り裂く
Hope you're done a swoonin'. This was Modulation to Move the Mind by Naruto, featuring Aya Futsuki and Baokichi. Made using a combination of the VOPM VST and the YM2413 FM sound chip. Imagine being programmed directly from the MSX computer. And the reason why I say that is because Naruto, also goes by Naruto 2413, largely composed a lot of music with the MSX, with that particular sound chip, as well as the AY series chip for the PSG stuff. And before I go a bit more into Naruto, let's tell you a bit about the other two. So Aya Futsuki has largely contributed vocals to arrangement albums of the music of the Toho series, which, if you don't know, was a indie/doujin series of bullet hell shoot 'em ups made by, I can't remember the guy's name, but it was for the Japanese PCs and eventually for Windows, and it was all the craze for the mid-aughts internet culture, largely 4chan. Whew, 4chan. Alright, shake it out. Don't remember. Okay, here we go. So, about Bokichi. I couldn't find much on him other than a GitHub page where he has a big repository of multiple sound drivers and all, and the most standout one being Moondriver, which I believe also had Naruto's involvement in, which was for the MSX Turbo R, which allowed it to have massive sound capabilities. So not just PSG, the FM, PCM, just the works. It's insane what this thing can do. What it can, and it can all be processed through the MSX computer itself, which is all the more crazier. The MSX is a mystery of a machine that I still want to learn more and figure out about. And the only reason I could think that he was credited on this was maybe he had some involvement with the driver that was used for the YM2413 sounds on this track. So now about Naruto, aka Naruto 2413. They have largely created music using the MSX series computers, so the using the PSG, the FM capabilities on there, as well as programming other chiptunes for the Famicom, most notably being Artificial Intelligence Bomb, which from what I can tell has been a pretty influential piece of chiptune. I remember finding it back 2007 or so in the 2A03 archive, and just listening to it on NSF player, and it was just I like this. This is really cool. And then years later, on SoundCloud, Staff Circ, the first Staff Circ volume was an entire album of nothing but arrangements on that one track, just different takes on it. I was whoa, what? This little NSF file that I found all these years ago, and other people really dig it? Awesome. And you want to know what else is awesome? All of this pure FM funk. And I've just listened to them countless times, and I'm pretty sure I could hum, doodle, beatbox most of the tracks from the first album just by memory. And I really wish I could just get more in depth about the music, but it's just it basically, speaks for itself or plays for itself. It's just, I feel, my words just can't really do much justice. And just all the amazing artists that were involved in this whole project. And FM Funk Madness actually came out around the same time as another album called FM Possible. And that was done by a trio of dudes that went by the names Dread, Groovemaster 303, and Cosmo BG. And they made all that music using a program called VGM Music Maker, which was a tracker that emulated the YM2612 and SN76489 sound chips from the Sega Genesis. And so I just followed that link, downloaded it, and that set me down my path of creating FM music. So both the FM Funk Madness and that FM Possible just was a double dose of inspiration. Just set me down the path into what I'm doing now. I'm still making chiptunes now using Deflamask and multiple chips. And I thank them all for it. And that will be a future episode of just that whole scene between 2011 and 2017, 2018 of just this explosion of original Sega Genesis chiptunes. And so with that, I'm going to encourage you to go check out all three of these albums, because what I just showed you today is just a small taste of each. And it's just even more just awesome FM funk goodness going on in there. And also to go check out each individual artist's music and support them. as well, just by listening to it or maybe even purchasing some of their music. And there's going to be links galore in the show notes. And I would like you to note that I've been your host, Rage Cage, RAYJ, KAYJ, and you can find me on all kinds of social medias, as well as on SoundCloud, so you can listen to some of my original Sega Genesis chiptunes that I had mentioned earlier. Then you can also find VG Emporium on those same social medias, as well as listen to it on your favorite podcatcher, whether it be Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, and I even got it set up on Facebook. So if you follow my Rage Cage page there, you'll be able to get updates from that as well. And to let you know about the next episode, we're gonna just keep riding this FM train, though it's gonna be of a different genre and of all just actual video game music this time. So I hope you look forward to that. So with that, I bid you adieu.